Hello, I'm Vinzer Flinn, and welcome to the Book of Flynn. And with me is someone who tried to spell out my name with her butt, got to the second letter, and hurt her back. It's Reigna Flynn.
Yep, that's me. And we all know Vinzer, the guy who spent the first minute before this recording started impersonating Thundercats. So, there's that.
I don't know what you mean, my dear.
Thanks for the material.
It's true, I was. Okay, so we're going to start seasons 2 of Clone Wars and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And this is really, really cool timing right now because as we're recording this, Ahsoka is on, I think, episode 5. So we just got the big spoiler alert flashback episode into the Clone Wars with live action. And it appears in that episode, it took place right after the Ryloth episodes we watched. So it looked like it's right after season 1. So Reigna is river songing the shit out of the Ahsoka storyline.
The battle that she, basically screws up, it's this one, isn't it?
Some clones get killed, and she feels very responsible.
Yeah, so I feel like this is like the battle where she screwed up.
Yeah.
Because it seemed really familiar how this was happening. I was like, I feel like I just watched what they're flashing back to.
I can't believe the timing.
The River Song order of this is unreal. I'm keeping track.
Do a quick recap of the order you've seen Ahsoka in so far. This is good.
Okay. So Ahsoka I first saw in Mandalorian. And then we moved to Clone Wars Season 1. Parts of Clone Wars Season 1, I've also seen. She was back in the next. She was in Book of Boba Fett, so I would have seen her in that. And then some more Clone Wars Season 1, because it took us a while to get through the first season. Sorry, everybody. And now I'm watching Ahsoka, and now I'm starting Clone Wars Season 2. So I feel like I need to keep a blue journal.
But in an incredible way, Ahsoka Episode 5 has bridged you from Clone Wars Season 1 to right now Clone Wars Season 2, which we're starting. And I just find that timing incredible.
Yeah, it's almost like this was meant to be. This is meant to be my path. This is my...
Us goofing off all summer paid off.
Yeah, exactly, because that was just... Reviewing the same episode while they're flashing back to it was a special kind of whoa.
Yeah, the fan base is not adequately recovered from seeing Hayden in action.
Yeah, that was good to see.
Well, speaking of which, let's get on to first episode.
Season 2 premiere, Holocron Heist. A lesson learned is a lesson earned. Which really just sounds like what's his face from Mystery Men. It's a word, it's a sentence that doesn't make any sense, and it seems really backwards on itself.
I was just thinking that. And because in my notes, I wrote it down backwards. I wrote down a lesson learned as a lesson learned. And it fucking still works, it's fucking Sphinx wisdom over here. I love it.
So good. He's always applicable. I need to watch that movie again soon. Jedi is surrounded on Felucia, with only hope being to get the ships in orbit to try to get them to land in a war zone. So that as the gunships are heading to the surface, Plo Koon and Clone Co., which is, we've got Warthog heading in the gunships to the planet, and Felucia just looks like another Mario Big World, Alien Edition.
Fun fact, this is the homeworld of Artemis Flynn, apparently.
Oh, cool. They also started with a big planet world in Season 1 with the Sassy Yoda episode.
That's true, yeah.
Plo Kool took out... I don't know if that was a typo, but I called him Plo Kool.
He's pretty cool.
He is pretty cool. Took out 2 droids with 1 shot. That might have been on purpose then. And he almost took out Anakin, who I will henceforth refer to as Gloomwalker. Plo Kool could have saved a lot of lives that day.
Oh, yeah. He
by taking out Anakin.
Saved the galaxy a lot of trouble.
Absolutely. What's that weird feeling that Yoda suddenly doesn't have anymore?
Feel good I do, like some dark cloud is gone.
I will come back around to this. The troops start to evacuate, and Anakin mentions that Ahsoka is on the jungle patrol and hasn't checked in. And Obi-Wan tries to reach her, but she's too busy being epic. You know, flitting around, being all awesome. And also, Anakin's like judging her for not checking in.
Yeah.
Seriously? All right. Okay. Cool. Do not as I say and do as I say and not as I do, I guess. Ahsoka thinks they're making progress and wants to continue, but Team Anawan wants to leave. They're heading to her and they're scolding her for putting her team in danger. And it's weird that they suddenly care about the clones. Because didn't some of Gloomy's actions last year directly lead to being like, oh yeah, we're fine. Because he was fine. But basically his clones were cannon fodder.
Maybe between the seasons they got some fan feedback. The writer's like, look, we got to start taking care of these fucking clones. They're getting mad at us.
Possibly.
Well, that didn't happen. We already know the clones get fucked a million ways. But anyway.
Yep. Anakin's teachings. Is she winning?
It seemed to me Kenobi was doing more mentoring over the phone than Anakin was. He was totally disengaged. She's like, is she winning? Is she dead? Like,
yeah. Just give me the updates, Cap. Obi-Wan, she's not stopping. But what is she supposed to do? She's supposed to order everyone to stand down while they're having active fire on them? Like, wouldn't it would make more sense for them to continue holding down the defense until they can get pulled in. Like, they can't just be like, oh, our boss told us to stop. Pack up, have a nice day, while they're actively getting shot at.
As Johnny Knoxville once said, what do you mean hold on? The bull's not going to hold on.
Exactly. I totally understand her fighting until they show up, but then I don't agree with her stance on wanting to stay. It's important to know when you have all the information and to rely on others, because that's, I guess, is what the lesson is for this. But for the most part, I don't disagree with the fact that she was still fighting when they showed up.
When they came to extract her, they still, to me, seemed like they were really talking down to her. It wasn't like, if they wouldn't have spoken that way to Plo Kool, they would have been like, hey man, let's get out of here, they're coming. But they kept saying like you're young and stupid, you don't see the whole situation. It just felt like they were still a little condescending.
Yeah, I don't think that theme's going to go away, even though they're giving her like the same amount of responsibility as they have half the time.
Yeah.
So we flash to in front of the Jedi Council, the Council of Frowny Faces. Ahsoka is explaining her reasoning and her thought process in the moment, and I thought that in this scene, she showed way more maturity than her teacher ever shows.
Totally. She admitted, that she was kind of in the wrong, but she's like, I wasn't trying to be a problem. I was just doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. Like, she's like, I'm a team player, guys.
Yeah, and Anakin tries to take responsibility for his role in the incident, saying she's so talented and it's easy to forget just how young she is. Like, don't belittle this girl that you just put in charge of an entire platoon. Like, if you don't think that she should be there, if you're gonna just basically take shots at her age, like, it's just whatever.
Did pretty good for a girl.
Right? Jeez. Mace Windu, which is Multiverse's less awesome Nick Fury, basically grounds Ahsoka and puts her on guard duty, and then pulls the ultimate pairing move and extends it when he expresses displeasure when she even expresses displeasure at guard duty. Like, this is what I don't understand. This is like the garbage thing about parenting for me, is it's like, if you ground a child, they should be allowed to look upset about it. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
If they just have to calmly accept it and walk away, you're just teaching that kid to bottle up feelings, and that's never going to be good. So this was a really bad parenting move on Mace Windu's part.
Yeah, it was like punitive, unnecessarily, just to show them Ahsoka who was boss. It goes to show, like, these Jedi are in charge of all these fucking Force-sensitive kids from a super young age, and they're all shit parents.
Let the children have feelings, Boomer Windu. They leave the room, and Anakin mentions that he wasn't a Padawan that long ago. Pretty sure that was 5 minutes ago. and it's some days you really still are. Then we meet Madame Jocasta Nu, and Ahsoka is to be the security officer.
Very important person in the sort of Jedi lore. Jocasta Nu, she factors into things, and in the fall of the first question we asked about Grogu when we started getting his backstory was how did Jocasta Nu factor into it, because the library didn't keep her secrets and stuff. It's this big fan theory.
Yeah, I've heard her name thrown around a few times. It was nice to actually see an actual introduction as well, because it so rarely happens in Star Wars. So is she Force sensitive? Is she Jedi?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Holocron Vault is where all the secrets are kept. And this is where the clone plans were deleted by Count Dooku, otherwise known as Count Chocula. That's the same spot, right? When he went in there to delete that?
I'm not sure. He definitely deleted something from the archives, but it would make sense that it would have been in the Holocron Vault if only for the security, like only a certain number of people could have done it kind of thing. I don't know. That's a good question.
I'm really enjoying Jocasta. She's doing a really good job of making Ahsoka feel important. Take note, Anna Wan. Write a little post-it. Make Ahsoka feel important. Maybe you'll get better results instead of belittling her all the time.
Well, that's right. We've seen Jocasta before in the movies when Kenobi went there to find out Dooku deleted that. She kind of took offense about something being wrong with the archives. Got a little snitty about it to Obi-Wan.
Yeah. And then the scene cuts to Cad Bang. I was listening to an old episode of our podcast because it helps me remember some of the better nicknames. And this one almost slipped past me, but Cad Bang,
yep.
The unfortunate misspeak from last time, is now his new name.
Yep.
Gets a holo call from what's-his-face, Sid Vicious, Darth Sidious, General Mills.
I just hit my face on my microphone. I was laughing so hard at that. Sid Vicious.
I don't know. I couldn't get his name right. I actually had to Google him. Which is tricky, because you can't Google certain things when you want to remain slightly spoiler-free on a show.
What was interesting to me in this scene is that when he gets off the phone, he refers to him as a Sith Lord. It's like, I'm surprised Bang... I said Bang. I'm surprised Bang... See, I just did it again. Fuck! Cad Bang. I'm never... Oh, man. That's never gonna... All right.
No, it works too well.
Cad Bang!
Excuse me while I derail this podcast.
Anyway, Cad Bang knows that this guy's a Sith Lord, which seems unusual to me that Sidious would allow himself to be known as a Sith Lord. It seems unlikely that Cad Bang would guess that from his robe, because like, a lot of people wear robes and shit in Star Wars. But anyway, yeah, just interesting to me that Cad Bang knows that he's a Sith Lord. Fuck!
There's a lot of stuff taken on faith, or a lot of magically created plans in this. I have a lot of issues with how smoothly the plot moves through this. General Mills wants Cad to get a holocron from the vault. So we cut to the Jedi Temple, and Anna Wan is discussing battle strategies with Yoda when he receives an incoming Force transmission warning him that someone's going to try to break into the temple.
This Yoda's just like, hey, there's gonna be a break-in later, so watch out. Like, he just knows.
Yeah, he's just tuned into Jedi radio a little faster than everybody else. Back at Cad's pad, he's performing maintenance on a non-consenting robot, and that sounded a lot better when I wrote it down the first time, not when I said it out loud.
Non-consenting robot. Potential episode title.
Performing maintenance on a non-consenting robot, which is droid, by the way.
A how-to guide.
Star Wars. I have no memory of any crashes. LOL.
What do you mean I hit my head? I don't remember that.
Right? Cad put a weird chip into the littlest robot that could, which is a techno service droid, henceforth known as Todo 360. Is this a low-key Wizard of Oz reference?
I don't
Who
know.
knows?
Maybe.
Who knows? Someone enters the room, and it's from a insect humanoid race.
Yes, this is a Clawdite, and we see Jango Fett works with one in the second movie, I think. Or is it the third? Anyway, the one that is the sniper, Zam Wesell, she's a Clawdite. They're changelings in Star Wars.
Bola RuPaul, as I heard it. I know it. So that's my headcanon now. Is a Jedi in the Outer Rim, so that's who they're going to try to find. The chip that the droid has right now is the security key to enter the Jedi Temple. And they're going to impersonate a Jedi on the Coruscant. Innocence, which is I find slightly ironic considering how shifty this changeling is later. And the changeling's name is Kato, as we learn throughout the episode.
The last name in the subtitles was Paracity, which I realized looks like Parasite. And this shit happens in Star Wars all the time. They made fun of it in Futurama once. He's like, I'm Darth Erderer. They just knock a letter off a name that sounds scary, you know.
Just big Latin murder. I am Darth Erdermay.
But we have to remember that we brought this up because later in the Clone Wars series, there's going to be an instance of this, and I was just like, are you guys fucking kidding me? But they did it, and you're going to know it when we get there. Anyway.
My moment of the episode was when Bang hands out these ear comm links so that they don't get overheard as they try to infiltrate the communication center. Oh, interesting that they have earpieces in the Star Wars universe, something I have been complaining about for a season.
No, our Mandalorian Star Wars D&D was never an issue, but of the helmets, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, oh, let's not be overheard while I talk into my wrist, and then the wrist has a speaker that shouts it back at me, but I'm trying to stay undercover. I'm on Cad Bang's side with this one, okay? Earpieces. He is the smartest man in the Star Wars universe because he is the only one that uses these. Anawan magically deduces the plan.
Yeah.
Like, within 5 seconds.
Another feat of Force magic, apparently.
Right? That's literally how I'm referring to this. I'm just like, okay. We're just going to accept that you just automatically know this. So Gloomy heads to east, and Obi moves to the central security station. Bane has landed what I thought was the East Tower, which would make sense because that's where they were going. But nope, apparently they were going to the South Tower. This episode. Innocence is looking shifty as he's walking through, pretending to be the Jedi, and he's like trying not to lose his temper, but he's so over Ahsoka trying to be overly helpful.
So was I, honestly. I beg the second time. I'm like, fuck off.
Right? And then Cad Bang starts talking into the earpiece, and because it's an earpiece, Ahsoka doesn't hear it. Take note. Everything else.
Which is good, because Bang is like, hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Where are you?
Anawan checks in with each other, which is very out of character, because communication is not either of their fortes. But then Master Yoda walks in like a boss, and he's just like, yeah, they're here.
Great, why don't you go catch them? Since you know everything.
Yeah, right? He's like, oh, someone's going to break in. Go deal with that. It reminds me of one of my cats. I had a cat when I was younger who would just sit on the recliner, and a mouse got in, and the other two are chasing this mouse maniacally. And this cat's kind of like gesturing like, oh, it's over there now. Yeah, it's over there. So Yoda is my cat. Yoda is my cat. They go, and as soon as Yoda's like, P.S., they're here. Peace. I'll check back in for tea later. They magically guess exactly where Bane is.
I know, in a building that's the size of the fucking city.
They're like, oh, yeah, this scanner button I pressed shows that there was a weird security glitch on this side. And we're like, why didn't that ring any alarm bells for anybody? There's so many plot holes in this episode. It's Swiss cheese. Star Wars Swiss cheese.
I have to say, though, that as the job went on, it didn't really go very smoothly for Bane. And it seemed like Bane, you figure, is going to be, wow, I said Bane, that he's going to be kind of cool and collected, and he is a lot of the time, but he seemed quite short-tempered to Toto and just kind of pissed off that things were kind of not going smoothly. Anyway, that's how he seemed to me. He just seemed a little off his game or something.
Yeah, he seemed to be a little shifty when he heard the Jedi closing in, but he already had a contingency for his contingency. Like, it was, as it turns out, like, the whole sending Toto down there ended up being for a completely different reason. Bane is almost getting killed by droid ignorance because he's like, oh no, the sensor shouldn't, and then they almost get eaten by the fan.
Things would have turned out a lot different for a lot of people if he'd gone through that fan.
I honestly, I'm kind of with Cad Bang on this with his annoyance with that droid. We flash over to Kato whispering in the library, just make your way down the shaft until you reach. And the cast is like,
my face right
you?
now. Oh my, I was like, I didn't even think of that. Just caught in the corner of the library on Pornhub or some shit.
It definitely reminds me of like a guy getting caught by the librarian on being on a naughty website. It was so funny. That was if you heard me laugh out loud earlier, that's why.
I did. Actually, yeah.
That's why.
Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't make that connection.
Because it just cut off so perfectly. Anyways, that was a little joke for the adults, I'm sure.
Up to the writers on that one.
Yeah, Kato, I had to actually go back and listen to the line because I was like, the line, just the way it was said was perfect. I made sure I had to quote it. So Kato takes out the librarian and then becomes the librarian. And Bang's voice, when he's like, what's wrong with your voice? When she checks in as this little old lady.
He knows she's a shapeshifter. Like, why would you even ask that question?
I'm a librarian now.
I would have said, maybe like, what's the code word so I know it's you, maybe, but.
Right? Like, because I mean, I wouldn't put it past Madame Jocasta to just knock out Kato and just pretend to be Kato for the rest of the scene.
Jedi or Trixie.
Yeah. Anawan is pursued perfectly through the same path that Bang took, except we'll have an easier time. My problem with this is that he did more to get through the barrier by pressing the buttons to lower the barrier, because Toto just like booped it open. Yoda warns Ahsoka, and she overhears the librarian not saying dirty things, but directing Bane through the center. And is Kato force sensitive or just good with wielding a saber?
Ahsoka, I asked myself the same question, but Ahsoka said you have her appearance but not her skills. But I thought Kato was doing pretty fucking good with a lightsaber. I was like, started to wonder, do Claudites absorb their abilities too? Because that seems overpowered.
Yeah, that part didn't really make sense to me because I wasn't expecting Kato to be that good with a saber. Like,
this must be a good
nobody should be giving Ahsoka that hard of a time unless it's another force sensitive person.
Clearly a skilled combatant.
Bane knows that Kato is compromised and sends Toto to the communication tower, but he was going to send him there anyways. That's why the hole was only big enough for one person, for Toto to go through. I don't understand this. So Bang refers to him as a butler droid.
Did he?
And what's the difference between that? Yeah, he was just like, oh, some butler droid you turned out to be. And then Toto turns around and he's like, I'm a techno service droid. Right. Is a techno service droid something completely different? I don't know what the actual role of a techno service droid is besides.
Not actually sure. I was wondering if that was from a droid from like the Techno Union or something.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So Anawan head to the vault just to hear a detonation. And they're like, oh, it's the communication center. And they head on down, and I'm like, where is your great Jedi senses? He's right there. Ignores the detonation on the door.
I once got into a Jedi meeting in Star Wars Galaxies the exact same way. Me and a friend, we literally just bought brown robes and put them on, and we walked right in. Worked like a charm.
Bang grabs the holocron, and Toto pops open a grate to find the room filled with the 4 worst people to invite to a party. He turns around, he's like, hey guys! And I related to that because that's totally how I would react. But I feel really bad for Toto because it turns out that before he left, Bang like planted a bomb on him. And his plan was just to send him to the communication center just to blow up. Just, chaos for the sake of chaos while he's to further distract them while to ensure that he gets out with the holocron intact. Like contingencies, man.
Yeah, for a guy that seemed a little frustrated as the mission went on, he definitely is Mr. Contingency.
Again, I would have been frustrated too if I had had Toto the techno service bomb with me.
Yeah, really.
Ahsoka, right? Ahsoka meets up with the real Jocasta and just lets Bane slip right by. No Jedi senses. Everybody's fine.
Yep.
Yep. And Ahsoka doesn't even have to like threaten any sort of violence or torturing or anything. It's just like, I've got a new home for you. And the changeling's like, oh, okay, I'll tell you everything. Like, no loyalty there whatsoever.
Yeah, but what she said, the name of the Jedi, that was very critical to the whole plan here. The one that could read the holocrons.
Yeah, but I was just really surprised that the changeling even gave up the name so quickly. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Guess she knew she was done for.
Yeah, and the holocron that Bang stole, it turns out it was basically a Force-sensitive registry. This is why registries are never good ideas.
Yeah, and how many of these families know their kids even on the registry? It all sounds very, very sneaky and not in a good way. But it's like Sidious he's playing the long game here. It's like this is the names of potential fucking inquisitors for the next 20 years, right? Like of the future. Like this guy's got his eye on the future.
It is because they've basically listed all of these kids that are either they put these children on that are either targets or potential victims, and it's just I don't know why it just kind of creates more gray and ishy politics. It creates a more problematic Jedi Empire, Jedi, whatever they're called, Order.
Yep.
Jedi Order. That's them. But really, it doesn't really make them that much difference from the Empire because they should have never compiled a list like that.
Honestly, when you think about it, it's amazing to me that the Republic, as it stands there, even allows the Jedi to fucking function because they operate with complete autonomy. They're trusted with fucking people's kids. That there's no checks or anything. They're just not even like they are. Yeah, they're just completely no oversight. And
No.
it's mind blowing to me, and they let them do it because that's the way it's always been. And like when you start thinking about it in those terms, you're like, yeah, fucking maybe it was time for the Jedi Order to fall. Like they're just look what they've done, become this aristocratic group of autonomous meddlers who just kidnap kids.
Yeah, and Order 66 was absolutely terrible, but if they had just stuck to the adults, I might have understood a bit more, honestly.
It's a philosophical argument. I mean, obviously it was evil, but yeah, you got to question when this group of magic space monks has lists of your kid. I mean, and you probably aren't aware of it. Like,
Would the parents of Ahsoka sign off on sending her into the middle of a battlefield when she's what, 11, 12?
oh, they steal them away long before that. That was one of the other times you saw Ahsoka out of sequence was in the Star Wars Tales of the Jedi when they're really.
They determined that Bola is in the Deveron system, so they're going to send Gloomy and Ahsoka off to go in search. And I found it interesting the way this episode ended because it seemed like Yoda was sensing the future and he was sensing something dark, and he might have been attributing to what happens if they get a hold of the actual list in the Deveron system. But the way that it cut, it was Yoda looking worryingly on at Gloomy, which I don't know. I read it as he might be confusing. He might be looking up and being like, am I sensing this because of him, or am I sensing this because maybe he senses Order 66? I mean, that is a very, very dark time. It's literally the fall of the Jedi Order, and if Yoda can like sense a blip on the radar when Bang enters the facility, there's no way that he can't sense the ripple effect of Order 66. Like he had to have had some knowledge that this was coming, even if he didn't understand what he was feeling.
You have to think back to episode 1 as well, when Obi-Wan was an apprentice, and he starts off the first movie, The Phantom Menace, saying that he senses something elusive, and they report a Sith Lord to the council. They fought Darth Maul and all that shit, so Yoda's got to be sensing that darkness, that elusive darkness out there too, and he's got to kind of think there's somewhere out there it's hiding it.
Yeah, I don't understand how General Mills can hide it so well, because him and Yoda have definitely been in the same room.
Oh yeah, many times. I think it's a case where the dark side confuses and clouds stuff, so it's more about hiding your true nature and shit like that.
Yeah. So then it cuts with Yoda looking worryingly at Anakin, and then he walks away, and I just found it interesting that it was just some slight foreshadowing, even though we already know what happens, because episode 3 had come out before this, and, wibbly wobbly, all that stuff.
I think you may be onto something, though. Yoda probably senses the potential for darkness in Anakin.
Yeah, for sure.
So, wrapping up, what did you think? Did you like the episode?
I liked this episode. I found that it seemed like it was supposed to be Ahsoka centered, but then it didn't. Like, it was like, this is about teaching Ahsoka a lesson. There was no lesson in this.
She still saved the day.
There was Mace Windu lost Dad of the Year to literally anyone else. And to literally anyone else by like being like, keep talking back to me and your grounding's going to be 3 weeks instead of 2.
My opinion of Mace Windu, I like Sam Jackson, but I do not like Mace Windu. I mean, he made Boba an orphan. He cut his fucking old man's head off.
Yeah.
He killed the Father of the Year.
Right? Kill Father of the Year. Man, he deserves a worst dad ever coffee cup to look at in the morning.
This is what I think they should do for Book of Fett season 2, is that they find out that Windu's alive and the entire season is just Fett and Fennec out in the galaxy, leaving the criminal empire shit behind, let someone else run it. He goes out, gets back to his roots, hunts him down, and gets to the final episode. He catches up with Windu, big fight, and Fett gets the chance to be the bigger man and forgive him. Doesn't fucking flamethrowers and Mace Windu dies. It's just a straight up bounty hunt from start to finish.
Oh, I was thinking that he would just cut his head off.
I go for that too. I had this idea of dramatic flames in the Fett theme song playing as it reflected in the visor, but just that, it was like, oh, Fett's gonna show mercy. Fuck no, he finishes the job.
No, baby Rancor comes in and bites his head off.
I'd go for that too.
Da, 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 da.
All right, it's time to start Buffy's Season 2, Episode 1, entitled When She Was Bad.
I love this episode. So, I have a challenge for you.
Oh, let's hear it.
So, as you know, this is actually the first episode that I've ever seen, but I haven't even seen it from the beginning. The first time I watched it, I came upon it while I was flipping channels partway through. So my challenge to you is we'll go through the whole thing, and then at the end you kind of have to like guess which one was the...
So I have to guess the scene that you tuned into, and you joined like the episode in progress, and that was your first Buffy impression. So I have to guess where in the show that... Okay, man, I know what I want to guess already, but there's a few good guesses, so I can't wait to find out what it actually is.
Yeah. I called this episode Rage Room for Therapy.
The short synopsis is Buffy returns from summer vacation with a major attitude. I was like, well, that was the 90s. Everyone had a major attitude. We start off with Xander and Willow wandering around by the graveyard, as you do. And they're doing the movie quote game, which they said they ended up saying, oh, this is a dumb game. But I was like, this is kind of a fun game, actually, where they do movie quotes and you guess the movie.
Babe, do you want to play this game? I'm totally down to play this game.
That could be interesting. Yeah, yeah. I would do a lot of 80s crap.
I'd fail even the super obvious ones, or I would know the really oddly obscure ones. There is no there is no in between.
Apparently, it's been a very quiet summer of no monsters, and Xander sounds very bored. And I'm like, oh, someone's an adrenaline junkie now. He's addicted to the action.
If this scene was set today, Xander definitely would have spent all summer stalking all of Buffy's social media for any mention of him or any message or anything. He would have just lived glued to his phone the entire summer.
Oh, that is so true, and such a sad indictment of today's technology. So as they're walking along, they get interrupted by a vampire who looks like he just came from a formal dinner. He's like got a dress shirt on, a sport coat.
Can we talk about that weird interaction that happened before the vampire showed up?
Oh, where it looks like they're starting to set up a potential Xander Willow romance? The ice cream on the nose?
But then, like, the rest of the episode, he's like, Willow who?
Yeah.
Anyways, just bugged me.
Vampire shows up, and Buffy shows up 2 seconds later and just kicks him onto a tree branch and kills him. Like, no problem. We find out that the master has been buried right over there, in fact. Not 10 feet away.
From a path.
Yeah, like we buried this vampire corpse right over there, right here.
It really gives a testament to what life is like in Sunnydale, that somebody definitely jogged past this and said nothing.
Guy that works there sees people digging. He's like, oh, I'm not going to fuck with them.
Yeah.
I didn't see nothing. At Buffy's house, Mom and Dad are catching up about Buffy, who's been very distant this summer, and it sounds like she did a lot of shopping and partying.
Retail therapy.
Oh, yeah, retail therapy. That's the thing.
Therapy. Yep.
So obviously, to me, right away, I was like, okay, she's a little fucked up. She's distancing herself, so. Back at school, Cordelia is detailing what a rough summer she had while living in the lap of luxury.
In Tuscany. My God. Like, no one has suffered. I'm like, excuse me.
Giles and Principal Quark, I can't call him anything else. I don't even remember what the principal's actual name is.
We're going to go with it. The other name doesn't matter.
I remember Flutie, but I can never remember this guy's name. So Giles and Principal Quark come out, and the quote of this scene is, "Have you ever considered giving your abhorrence of children that school principal is perhaps not your true vocation?"
I enjoy every moment that we get of these two in this scene, because it's just, one is just taking the other one so seriously, and he's just ripping him to shreds without him even knowing, and that is just chef's kiss humor. I appreciate Giles so much in this episode.
Please tell me there's an episode where these two have to be roommates for a little while or something. Like, that just writes itself.
I'm not going to talk about anything that happens in the future.
Oh, you're telling me there's a chance.
I'm not saying that anything. I just don't want to, do any spoilers or kill any dreams.
So it definitely happens. Okay, moving on. Principal Quark comes back with a great quote about them all being hormonal time bombs.
Meanwhile, in the background.
Oh, I didn't even notice the background with someone getting busy.
Well, no, it was just like he's, summarizing how these guys are like not even caring.
Oh, right. And Giles slips off.
Yeah, because he's just like, he basically, Quark is summarizing basically what's happening in the background as Giles turns into a bumbling person, and, Calendar's all, hey, what up? So,
Apparently, Miss Calendar did Burning Man over the summer. I didn't know Burning Man went back to the 90s. That was interesting.
She's a modern gal.
I like how Willow says, and I have it all in caps here, Buffy killed a vampire last night.
I have here quoted, hey, G-Man, never call me that.
Yeah, they never call him Mr. Giles.
Oh, goodness, no. That would be the weirdest thing if they did. Anybody who does, it really blows me away for a second because I'm like, I don't understand what I'm looking at.
They do that. They're an outsider.
Yeah.
The Hellmouth is still emanating plot energy to keep all the monsters in town because, can't close that for good. Come on now. So Buffy is all clipped sentences and seems very driven, and there's a training montage in the library where, of course, Giles gets put on his ass yet again.
We get the most obvious stunt double. It's not hidden well in this scene. Sarah Michelle Gellar. She is very lithe and she is very fit, but muscled she is not.
Yeah, my first thought was like, did they get like the Sonya Blade Mortal Kombat actor or something? Like,
like super impressive. It's the same stunt double from season 1.
Oh yeah, the action was totally good in this episode. No complaints there.
No.
Definitely seems like Buffy's drive is born out of fear of the Masters. I'm like calling out like, oh yeah, PTSD for sure. She's not dealing with shit. So anyway,
right.
Over at what I'm calling the Vampire Studio apartment, there's a support group meeting. She muted her mic, but I just heard her laugh really hard in the other room. Yeah, there's a support group meeting for vampires going on. I wrote LOL next to it. We still got this creepy, the anointed one, the kid. Check, he's there. Back at school, they're talking about dreams, and apparently Willow's dreaming about Xander, and I'm like, yeah, they're setting up something here.
Yeah. They have Xander suddenly prefers an apple, and Willow wants the candy. Interesting.
Giles shows up and says he thinks he knows what the vampires are up to, then he punches Buffy in the face and starts choking her out. And then she pulls off his face like an alien in the 80s show V, and it's a vampire nightmare. I was like, oh, yeah. Just like, yeah. Giles starts choking her out, dream sequence. Okay.
But that Xander preferring the apple and Willow wants the candy is a really subtle beginning to the dream. Because it's backwards. Yeah, it's a weird deep dive. But also they have a big sign in the background over Willow's shoulder that says, planning your life around television. And I'm like, but that was literally my life while this was on. I planned my life around this show and Angel once it started.
That's great.
Yeah, until it moved nights. And then unfortunately I was already in cadets and doing well. So cadets won, I guess, but that was season 7. It was fine.
When Buffy wakes up, Angel's sitting inside her room watching her sleep and says, "Can I come in?" And I'm like, well, apparently, yes.
The same note. Also a bedroom with no screen. She is not afraid of bugs at all. Don't they have some like decent sized ones in California? Like, don't poisonous ones also down there?
Are the bugs bad in California? I don't know.
Please let us know if you have been to California or are currently there and listening. Also, hello from Nova Scotia.
Where the bugs are definitely fucking bad.
Where screens are a mandatory thing on Windows, unfortunately.
Angel talks about the Anointed One is gathering forces in town somewhere, and I'm like, they checked the studio apartments. Woke me up from a really good dream, Buffy says, one where Giles is strangling me.
Yep, that's... I don't kink shame. Ooh.
There's a little angst about Buffy's like, I didn't miss you. Ew, and then Angel heads out.
But she tries to like actually open up for a second and he's already gone. But I mean, he's probably just like hiding outside the window like a creeper, so it looks like he disappeared immediately. Like that Batman comic where they kind of make fun of Batman like disappearing and he's just hiding behind a garbage can instead of just looking like he disappears.
Angel was definitely flattened out on the roof right there.
Yeah.
Back at school, Buffy calls out Xander. She calls him hormones on parade because he made a groping joke.
I mean, fair.
And there's a show at the Bronze tonight, and I'm like, of course there is.
Yeah, it's a Monday night.
Let's go to that bar where we're not allowed to legally drink and all kinds of things. You know, I got a question in my notes here. Who the fuck owns the Bronze? Because there is a lot of weird shit happening there after hours, and the doors never seem to be locked.
I don't know. Maybe like the mayor or something. It seems like a weird public place that they would have.
That's a question I want answered in the course of the series.
I also relate to Willow in this moment, being like, Chiba could clog dance? Like, just being that gullible at that age, 100%.
Was that a real band in the 90s that I somehow missed?
I don't know, but the lyrics make me think of Bjork, so possibly.
I was like, did I miss this one in my drinking days?
I love it, though. It definitely makes up for the entire scene. So
Yeah, the music was pretty neat. Cordelia begins loudly talking about demons.
big wiggly demons coming up out of the earth. Like, my God.
The best Buffy quote here. Cordelia, your mouth is open, sound is coming from it. This is never good.
I've used that to insult somebody before who hadn't watched the show. It was wonderful.
That's scathing. That's good.
It was so good. Did you enjoy the Stooges reference?
I did.
Yeah.
I
So
love
good.
the Stooges. Cordelia in this scene, though, it kind of proves, despite all the shallow facade or whatever, she's actually going to be pretty trustworthy, I think. And she just got this weird angle on things, but it's like she's not going to tell anyone. But Buffy totally disses her anyway.
Yeah, this was a weird scene for me because I was like, oh look, like Cordelia's like she's showing through her popular facade, like she's letting them see behind the curtain, and then she immediately gets shut down for it. Like I just felt for Cordelia in this moment because she felt like she was actually putting herself out there, because she admitted last season that her friends are not actually her friends. It just beats being alone all by yourself kind of thing.
I have to say, I liked Cordelia this episode, probably for the first time, really legitimately. I actually really liked her as a character.
Yeah.
I had a feeling I was going to get there. I might have even said that at
You
this
did.
point, did I? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I have a feeling she's going to become cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, back at the graveyard, the vampires and anointed creepy kid are digging up the master's grave, and the Giles and them, while wearing robes, consecrated the ground, and their hands are like burning, and like, it's burning, it's consecrated, and not the master, the anointed kid's like, keep digging.
It's like maybe if you wanted everybody to be digging except for you for some reason, and the anointed one, which I can't wait till we get to his nickname because a future character says it. Maybe you should have stolen more shovels from the hardware store. Like, is that all they had? Because I definitely know that a Home Depot got held up tonight for shovels.
Like, can someone make a shovel run, please? No, dig with your hands. Fuck you.
Just go to the graveyard, like, maintenance thing. I'm sure there's a shovel there for gardening.
He's probably passed out by now. He won't care.
Yeah, exactly. He's the daytime guy.
There's a backhoe right there. Use your hands. Fuck it.
Yeah. This scene in the bronze.
Oh, back at the old bronze. Willow's saying how mean Buffy's being, and then she tries to flirt with Xander, and it falls completely flat.
Yep. He gets whiplash. His head whipped around so fast in this scene, it cracks me up every time, because it reminds me of how fast Nick, maybe this is just like one of my humor niches I have yet discovered until this moment, but like his head whips around in oh my God, that horrible movie that I love to watch for some reason, Wicker Man, where his head like whips down to his arms all of a sudden, and then it zooms out really in like a very cheesy kind of backwards way, zooms out to like the child in his arms, and it's just because I don't know, I've never seen that happen in real life. That's such a movie thing, but it cracks me up all the time.
Angel's getting a cold shoulder from Buffy, and she's like, I've moved on, man.
To the living. Burn.
Buffy takes Xander out on the dance floor where he probably has an unfortunate erection. He looks legitimately uncomfortable. He's like, what? He's like, it's happening, but
Yeah, he is like, props to Nicholas Brendan, because he had the I am so uncomfortable with this happening where he's like, I should probably enjoy this, but this doesn't feel right. And he actually read that on his face. And the music, at least the song, is actually cool because it made this the only thing about this entire scene bearable.
You know what the scary part is when they filmed it, they probably filmed it in a room with no music and it was quiet. And so that's probably what happened. That's what they do with TV, right?
Oh, I never even thought of that. Oh, that's so unfortunate.
Sarah Michelle Gellar like totally looking like hot '90s girls grinding on you. You gotta stand there. He wasn't acting.
I also want to give a shout out to the bleach blonde extra in the background close to the stage with the very, very shiny watch. Flashing that watch around did its trick, good sir. I was distracted. Thank you for giving me something to look at besides what I was supposed to be looking at.
That guy earned his $80 that day.
100%. My heart broke for Willow here, though, because
yes, she looked very sad sitting there on the edge of the dance floor.
She did nothing to deserve that.
No. Buffy goes outside, and Cordelia follows her outside and confronts her challenge to the title of biggest bitch, and really calls Buffy out. But I thought she was really pretty straightforward and cool the way she did it.
She was spitting straight facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she wasn't even being like rude about it. She didn't need to change anything about her tone. She said it straight, and it was good.
Yep. Bang on. And then she gets kidnapped right from under Buffy's nose.
Right? Like, Buffy, where's those spider senses? Come on, girl.
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking, where's that Slayer sense? Like, she put on a big hood and gave her the middle finger, and that was it. Out she went.
I mean, I'd prefer her not knowing at all to her alert method from the movie, because that was cramps.
Cordelia gets tossed into a room somewhere, probably in the laundry room of that studio apartment building, with an unconscious Miss Calendar. And Buffy goes to check on the Master's grave, and of course it's dug up, and there's my note. Yep, Buffy has fucking PTSD here.
Yep.
Now we're back at the school, and I just... the painted mural in the background in the scene is just fucking killing me the whole time.
I really like this new addition they have to the school. They didn't have this in season 1.
Oh, this lounge area, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. They use it a lot. It's good.
Oh, man, I'm scared you're going to say that. That painted student's going to be staring at me with her dead eyes this whole season. Fuck. All right, Giles says that Buffy's been through a traumatic thing. Yep, PTSD. Buffy walks in and Giles flops and flounders as usual.
Like a trout?
Yeah, like a trout, yes. I wrote flounder down. I'm like, oh, wait. All right, yeah, whatever. Now, apparently there's a ritual that can bring the Master back, but I don't know if it's specific to vampires or not, but Giles references that it's never been successfully done. So it sounds like this has been tried before. So that's the plan. They're going to bring the Master back.
So has the Master died before? Like, I'm confused as to when they would have tried this before.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about that. Like, if it was just for vampires, or is that like a spell or something? You know, that caught my interest.
Few notes about that conversation before she walks up is PTSD in the 90s is referred to as issues, I guess. Sanders, a Bitka, is a quote that lives rent-free in my head. It's so good. And it's not even the like, this is the first of 2 attempts that it's used in this episode, and I have to say they landed it both times.
He seems so earnest when he said that.
Yeah, and there's actually a continuity error in this episode. So when she's in the car with her mother, what up, Joyce? Whenever she's in with the car with her mother, she's wearing this tank top, but that was yesterday morning. She actually wore a different tank top at school that day, and I didn't notice until this scene where she walked in wearing that tank top. So it's interesting that they took that scene, which was definitely meant for her supposed to be lost in thought after the Master. She finds out the Master's bones are dug up. And they moved it to just general melancholy.
Yeah, that's weird. That would have worked better in that sequence. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they were just sort of doing the parent concern stuff early in the episode or something. That does seem like a weird switch.
Yeah, it's odd that they would do such an obvious switch where her tank top is very much like the iconic episode like outfit of this episode. So I don't know, just seems interesting.
Buffy refers to Willow and Xander as civilians, which I thought was that was a harsh burn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the context she meant it in. But Xander, he's had enough at this point. Like he genuinely kind of has a little snap here. But then Principal Quark comes in and breaks everybody up. But Giles finds info in a book about how they're going to bring the Master back.
I'm sorry, we're gonna skip over the snide remarks between these two. Giles and Principal Quark sniping at each other, where he's like trying to predict Buffy's future about jail and stuff. And
I forgot to write that down.
Yeah, and Giles is like, he's like, I can smell something. It's like a sixth sense, and Giles is like, I believe that's one of the five. Like he just.
Yeah, Quark's not even listening to him.
Nope. I love it. I just needed to point it out because Giles is amazing. Continue.
Yeah, good. Another savage burn.
Yep.
Back at the library, Giles finds info in a book about how they're going to bring the Master back, and then in one of the most hilarious parts of the episode, someone chucks a fucking rock with a ransom note through the window for Cordelia.
And then they're gonna cook her dinner.
Poor Xander. Do try to keep up.
This is the second time that it landed in this episode for him to have one of those misunderstandings.
Oh, man.
Oh,
I had more than my share of those moments in the 90s, I'll tell you that.
Same. And we weren't recorded by our friends on their phones.
Oh my god. We were the last true pre-internet generation. Thank God.
Yup. Preach.
Hashtag Gen X.
Hashtag Xennial.
Anyway, Buffy's determined to go it alone. She's going to do it no matter what. Back at the Bronze, Angel's there. He's trying to help too, but Buffy's still being pretty jerky to him. He sticks around though. He follows her in. And again, the fucking door to the Bronze not locked. Vampires all up into place after hours. Like the owner's definitely got to be some fucking vampire.
Or do you think that he just comes in every morning to just a broken lock? Because we know Buffy can just break those.
The cops don't even come over anymore.
The vampires also, like he just has a surplus. He's also a locksmith so that he could just get them for bulk and he just swaps them out every time.
Imagine some vampire comes in after the place gets wrecked up. Next night he feels bad and he brings him a brick of Nazi gold or something. He's like, sorry about the mess.
Oh, that would be if what we did in the shadows happened in Sunnydale.
Oh my god. Yeah. Nandor Payne with a handful of old gold coins. Sorry about the mess.
Nope. It would be because Nadja owns the Bronze.
Oh my god. The vampire nightclub, of course!
Yes!
I'm gonna be looking for those guys in the background now. If I see like a guy with a beard, I'm gonna be Laszlo!
Yeah, exactly.
I thought about them earlier in this episode when I was like, when Angel went out the window, I didn't hear him say bat.
Nope. Not. Oh my gosh, I really hope they're. Please hold on to those thoughts. All right, let's go.
Buckle up.
Oh god. Sorry.
Buffy and Angel go inside where there's just one vampire there. It seems like she's the decoy, and it is a trap, but not for Buffy. Giles has translated Latin via Sumerian. The truth of the translation is that the person's nearest the Master wasn't a metaphor, it meant literally. So the people that were near the Master when he died. So some plot force went into them, and they're going to sacrifice them to resurrect him. So all the vampires show up there. Buffy returns to the library, and Xander's still here. He explains all this. He's a little beat up. He does a good job of selling that he's just fucking beat up and over everything at this point. He's pretty.
He's harsh in this scene, but he's not wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, Buffy's hair this entire day was something that I tried to accomplish well into my teens until the 90s called and asked for their banana clip back. So, like you said, back at the Bronze, why are all the string lights are on? Someone took the time to turn on all the lighting to set the mood.
The owner's like, why is my fucking power bill so big? Doing that in the locksmith, I'm going under.
That's why I gotta sell more croissants.
Yeah, he's got like a really niche bakery in the day that's not doing well. He's like, fuck me, man. Okay, so Buffy's playing 20 questions with a captured vampire. So what are you going to do? Kill me? And she says, yes. And then she like sticks the silver in her mouth and like this was some waterboard level shit.
She was very creative with her torture in the scene. I had a similar note. She knows how to use. She's very creative, and they take a lot of opportunities to show how creative she is with her knowledge, her know-how, because that is continually what sets her apart from Slayers in the past. Is, you know, he said, you know, none of the other girls have given me this much trouble.
Yeah, and we do see a really cool example of it this episode. I can't wait to get to.
Yep.
At the vampire studio apartment, the master's bones are laid out, looking like a spirit Halloween prop.
How were they articulated together? How did they stick together? Why is the vertebrae all one piece? I have a lot of problems with this.
Contact cement in real life, I imagine.
Like someone took the time to glue 208 bones together. 6? I don't know how many there are. I'm assuming there's extra for teeth.
205, 206, I think that's right.
Well, there's probably more for vampire. I'm gonna go with 208.
He might have lost a finger. So maybe they didn't get all the bones. It's like we couldn't find some toes. Fuck it, just let's go.
Just stand on his right side if he starts to tip.
So they got the 4 people they need for the ritual. Now they're hanging like fucking not slabs of beef from the ceiling. I'm like, this is why they got the studio apartment with the big heavy support beams.
This is a factory, but
Is it?
yeah, it ends up being called the factory at some point, like referred to as, but I am definitely wanting to go with the studio apartment right now.
I just sort of, once I made that joke in my head, I just sort of stopped trying to figure out what the place was. I'm like, yep, good, big area, studio apartment, sure.
I love it. We're going with it.
Buffy, Angel, and Xander literally just walk in. Apparently the door wasn't locked.
None of the doors are locked anywhere in this town for some reason.
It's against bylaws or some shit.
Well, I mean, if vampires, want to cross the threshold, they can't. So I guess there's no real threat.
You can't see me right now, but my face is like that trying to calculate meme, and they're floating around my head, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's why nobody locks their doors anywhere, unless they're selling something.
What's the plan? Kill 'em all. Buffy punches one in the back so hard it dusts. Creepy anointed kid scrams out the side door like Kramer leaving.
he just books it real quick.
Angel defends the humans in this, and I think he might have actually killed a vampire. And I don't know if I've seen him do that yet or not. I can't remember, but he's not making any. You know what side he's on, you know?
Yep.
That's cool. I think that's an important little thing. Buffy's just kicking the shit out of the vampires. Like I said, I had zero problems with the fight choreography.
Oh yeah, it's getting so seamless. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's hard hitting shit too. I love it.
Yep.
So the priesty vampire leader, he returns with a sledgehammer, and I wrote LOL next to that. This is the best part here. Buffy grabs a pole with a torch, like a fucking 7-8 foot staff, and she does a double whammy. She stakes a guy and sets the other on fire. 2 for 1.
Yeah, and it's the first time we see a vampire dusted by fire like that.
Oh yeah, I loved it. It was like a double fatality.
It was like, congratulations, here is the new budget. And now they're like, now we can burn them.
I don't remember who said it's over, but Xander's like, no, it isn't. I like, that's absolutely correct. And then Buffy works out her issues with a sledgehammer.
I'm just not 100% sure if it should have been Xander said, no, it's not. Like,
it seemed kind of insightful for him after being a dummy all episode.
It seemed like a Willow line or a Giles line or literally anybody else, like the master on the table, literally anybody else should have had more insight than Xander, because he's just been focusing on getting in her pants since the moment she showed up next to the graveyard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gross.
I wrote down here, whoever rented that studio apartment, these vampires is shit out of luck.
Right? It's the anointed one. He's like, I just put down a deposit, goddammit. I had to pretend that guy was my dad. Now I don't know who to tell.
Back at the school, Cordelia's biggest concern is the damage to her wardrobe, of course.
Look at Calendar's face. Like, she played this so well.
Buffy is genuinely sorry for putting everyone in danger, and I noticed on the whiteboard in the background was written the words, "Your karma ran over my dogma."
I am so glad that you saw that. I had the same line, except I didn't see "ma" in the dogma. I just saw, "So your karma ran over my dog," and I was because I had a question.
I thought that was clever. Of course, Buffy's friends accept her back, and the very important thing we discover is that there is no miniature golf course in Sunnydale. The episode sort of fades out to kind of a long piano fucking performance.
Cue 90s ending. Oh yeah. And let's point out a continuity thing here. This all happened on a Tuesday, which means Cordelia and Miss Calendar went missing on Monday, and there wasn't a single Amber Alert done up for the 17-year-old who disappeared without a trace.
Not in this town. You've fucking gone for a week minimum.
Oh my lord.
There's an epilogue where the anointed creepy kid goes back to the apartment and he says, "I hate that girl," which was pretty good, but I think it was a missed opportunity to go, "I'm never getting my fucking damage deposit back."
He definitely is just mad that he lost all of the money he sunk into that place and his fake dad.
I wonder what he came back for. He had needed the keys to another safe house or dropped his wallet or some shit. Well, I did like this episode. The action was good, and it was actually a pretty good way to acknowledge that, Buffy had she went through something pretty fucking traumatic. So even as superhuman as she is, you got to deal with that shit. And I felt it was a good bridge to get the second season going from the first.
Yeah, I do like this episode. I mean, it holds a special place in my heart because it's the first one. It's the one that caught my attention. But it doesn't. I just hope that as they go on, they deal with it, because that's grinding up your enemy is not really proper therapy. Poor girl.
You hope that they address more that it takes a mental toll on her doing what she does, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You think that maybe they've dealt with the PTSD thing, then they'll never mention it again.
Yeah, it's interesting, to see. I hope that they go on. I hope that this isn't it.
Me too.
So, the question is, what scene?
Time for the lightning round.
It's not one where super anything really interesting happens. It's the oddest scene for me personally, because I don't even know if we missed it. We might have just skipped it, really.
Okay, so I have to guess at which point Reigna first started watching Buffy, where she came in as the show was in progress. So you got to give me a couple of chances here.
Yes, absolutely.
How about 3 guesses?
3 guesses. Yep.
All right. The first one is you tuned in while Giles was choking out Buffy.
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, the scene is so small that we might not have even really had anything to say about it.
Okay, let me think about that for a second.
Yeah. It was September 15th, 1997. I wasn't even 10 years old yet when I watched this episode.
Was it when they were at the lockers and Xander was being really dirty jokish?
Nope.
No? Okay. Do I get a hint for my last guess?
Angel is involved.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. He was in their room. He was at the Bronze. He helped them fight. I almost want to guess the thing you referenced earlier with the quick neck turnaround thing, but I feel like you wouldn't have called that much attention to.
Oh, no, I wish that was my first scene, because I would have been sucked in immediately. I would have laughed so hard. I would have what the heck is this? And then I would have watched it. But unfortunately, no. It is the argument they have outside the Bronze.
Okay. That's where she was being mean to him.
Yeah, it was that scene where she's being kick my ass, and she's undead American. I think it might have been that quip that drew me in, because she's oh, are vampires a offensive now? Should we call you undead American? And it was just an interesting quip, and I feel like that sticks out to me. So I think that was like, wait, what is this? And then that I kept watching because it was the joke.
So you're telling me your first impression of Buffy was when she was an asshole, and you're like, yeah, I like her.
I was like, she's funny. And then I was concerned when she started torturing, because just keep in mind that the only information I have about Buffy is she's mean to a guy outside of the Bronze and I mean, I was 9, so there wasn't like
Right.
a hey. It was just like, so she's mean to this guy outside the Bronze, and then she goes in to see somebody who has a weird face, who I can assume is a vampire, and then she goes to a trashed library where a guy is really rude to her, and then she
Who's beat
tortures
the shit.
that she tortures a guy on a she tortures a girl on a table. And then she
Wow.
has that entire scene where she basically lights the guy on fire, smashes the skeleton together, has Cordelia talking, my first impression of Cordelia, because this is the first time she's awake that I've been in this episode, talks about the stains on clothes.
Well, at least you got a good first impression for her.
And then I've got Miss Calendar, and then I have the 90s cue out music. So
So, okay, which scene was it, the first scene that you saw Giles in then? And that, trying to think where that was in the show.
it would have been their talk at the end, because he would have been knocked out by that point. Because all he did was stand there at the Bronze. He didn't really have any lines.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was trying to figure out if the first time you saw Giles, he was hanging from the ceiling like a slab of
Yes, pretty much.
beef.
Yeah.
Really? Oh my god.
Yeah. So the
Fucking
first time that I saw Miss Calendar, first time I saw Cordelia, first time I saw Willow, they were all hanging upside down.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Because that was my first introduction to all of them. And so my first interaction with Giles as a character was the talk that they had outside of the school before she goes into class.
Wow. And all these years later, we're watching them again, and
I'm watching them I've got to be in like 20 plus now, because I do a rewatch almost every year, at least once, because it's my comfort show.
well, I definitely enjoyed season 2 kickoff, so let's keep going. All right, that's it for us. This is Vinzer Flinn signing off.
Bye.